Hello everyone, welcome to Headlines of the Day. This is 8th of June 2022 and we are back again with some of the major articles from The Hindu. Let's begin our today's discussion. On page number 1 from GS2 International Relations is an article that is headlined as Government reaches out to all the OIC members. Here we are talking about the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. So Ministry of External Affairs sends heads of missions memo on dealing with the diplomatic fallout. From this article, you have to know what is the rationale behind MEA's decision to send heads of missions special memos on dealing with the diplomatic fallout of comments by the BJP leaders. Also, how is it going to affect India's relation with the OIC and the Gulf Cooperation Council (GCC? And further on, what is the possible scenario ahead? Alright, moving further on page number 1 itself from GS2 Polity and Governance, another article. Tamil Nadu tops Food Safety Index. So Gujarat, Maharashtra take top slots. From this article, you have to know what is the State Food Safety Index (SFSI) and highlights of the recent measurements. Further on page number 1 itself from GS3 Defense Sector, there is an article, New rules allow ex-officers to hold the CDS post. So we are talking about the Chief of Defense Staff. From this article, you have to know what are the features of service rules recently amended by the Ministry of Defense. Next article on page number 6 from GS3 Economy section. This is an editorial article about the GST Council ruling. So the weight of the GST Council ruling. The Supreme Court judgment is a treatise on democratic and federal imports of the GST legislations, says this article. From this article, you have to know about the Supreme Court's ruling on GST. Why should the Supreme Court of India have to deliberate at length on the nature of recommendations of the GST Council? What has been the reaction to the Supreme Court judgment? What will be the impact of the Supreme Court verdict and what is the possible scenario ahead? Moving further on page number 6 itself from GS3 Economy, another article, the shadows over global growth recovery are long. So the developing economies have to prepare for tighter financial conditions and spillovers from the geopolitical volatility. From this article, you have to know what are the causes and consequences of prevailing uncertainties in the global growth prospects in the last 2 years. Also, why inflation has become a central concern. In addition, major contributions to high inflation impact on households. What are other macroeconomic factors impeding growth recovery? Why does the piece of policy tightening need to be attuned to the prevailing economic situations and activity levels? Further on, importance of inflation stabilization and what lies ahead. Moving further on page number 7 from GS2 Polity and Governance, there's an article about copyright infringement. So the article is headlined as Crime and Copyright Infringement. Making copyright infringement a cognizable offense will pave the way for police to impinge on civil liberties. From this article, you have to know about the Supreme Court of India's judgment on copyright infringement, immediate consequence of this judgment, legislation related to copyright infringement, India's international law obligations under the trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights, that is known as TRIPS, and issues linked to them and what is the possible scenario ahead. Moving further on page number 7 itself from GS2 International Relations, another article that is headlined as Decoding China's Occupation. So the article talks about that China could argue that its construction of bridge on Pangong Tso is peaceful, but that does not make it lawful. From this article, you have to know why should India be particularly concerned about the China's construction activities on Pangong Tso, other issues and disputes between both the countries and what is the possible scenario ahead. Moving further on page number 8 from GS3 Economy section, there's an article about the bad bank. Of what good is a bad bank? From this article, you have to know what is a bad bank, what are the pros and cons of setting up a bad bank, will a bad bank help ease the bad loan crisis, and most importantly, will it help revive credit flow in the economy? Moving further on page number 12 from GS2 Polity and Governance, there's an article about the Advisory Board on Disability, not reconstituted since 2020, says this article. So it is to meet on June 24 to decide on the Accessible India campaign, says official. From this article, you have to know about the Central Advisory Board, CAB, its functions, objectives, issues, and what is the possible scenario ahead. Moving further on page number 14 from GS3 Economy point of view, there's an article about the World Bank. So the World Bank cuts India's financial year 23 GDP growth forecast to 7.5%. Inflation, supply chain issues, geopolitical tensions weakening the services recovery. From this article, you have to know about the forecast of World Bank for India's economic growth for the current fiscal year. Well, with this, we call it a wrap of today's edition of Headlines of the Day, The Hindu. We'll see you with more such videos. Till then, take care and do stay tuned.